So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first module of the AWS class. This module is just an introduction to AWS Web Services. Like I told you guys the other day that any module that we want to cover, we first look at the module objective, then we're going to look at what we are going to, the topic that we're going to cover for each of that module. So this particular module is after this module, you should be able to explain all the three types of cloud deployments, all the three types of cloud deployment module. Then explain some advantages and disadvantages or benefits of cloud computing. We've already discussed some of this cloud computing before, but we are going to go deeply into them now. So these are the two objectives for this module. And for those people that are going to be writing the AWS Cloud Practitioner after this course, my number one objective is not certification. But you can use my course to pass the certification, but my number one objective is not certification, is for you to be able to get the knowledge, apply for the job, and be able to get job and be able to do it. IT is not about certification. You piling up certification will not get you job. I've seen lots of people that have a lot of certification and they still can't get job, and while some people do not even have anyone and they have a lot of offers. So my number one objective is not certification. I'm not teaching you to pass certification, though you can use it to pass certification, but that is not my focus. My focus is you gaining the knowledge and be able to apply it in real life scenario. So, but you can still have the certification. So for those people that want to do certification, this is the AWS exam guide for the cloud practitioner. And I've used this exam guide to prepare the course material. So everything we are going to be discussing in this course material are those things that you will need for the certification as well. So the first stage, if you go down here, these are the domains that AWS says you should cover if you want to pass the certification, and they break it down here. This is domain one. The task statement is should be able to define the benefits of AWS cloud. And if you look at here, that is why we have the benefits of cloud compute, which is the benefits of AWS cloud. Then the module 2 is identify design principles of the cloud compute, which is they say you need a knowledge of AWS architected framework. We're going to be discussing this. I'm going to be discussing majority of what you see here. We are going to be discussing it in the class. So you might use this, you might print out this and be using it as your guide while you're prepared. And I will also give you some sites where you can get exam preparation topic that you can use it for preparation. Don't just go there and cram it. You have to know it, know the service. So these are the objective. Then what are the topics we are going to cover? The topic we are going to cover for this module is cloud deployment modules. Then we have the benefits of the cloud. After that, we're going to test our knowledge. During the knowledge test, I want people to participate. Don't just attend class and don't talk. There are some people that from day one to the last day, they are not going to say one single word in the class. So don't be that person, okay? All right. Introductions to the AWS Web Services Cloud Deployment Module. We've talked about cloud computing before the break. And I believe by now you should understand what a cloud computing is. You should understand what the cloud computing is, which means you use web services or web resources or compute resources over the internet, on-demand delivery of internet or on-demand delivery of web services. But there are some, or there is a particular concept that you need to understand before you can even start talking about cloud computing at all. And that concept, we already discussed it earlier, but I want to go a little bit further. And that concept is called the client to server relationship. The client to server relationship. We discussed this earlier, that the concept of cloud computing is more of client to server relationship. Dawn has servers in its data center. I have my laptop. My laptop is client. And those servers in Dawn data center, they are servers. So I will be using my clients to talk to these servers. And this is what we refer to as clients to server relationship. So this client to server relationship is very, very critical in cloud computing, because everything you do, majority of what you do in cloud computing has to pass through client to server relationship. So let's say this is your laptop, and or let's say this is my laptop, because it's me and Dawn that we are in business now. So this is my laptop, and Dawn has a server that I want to access. How do I access this server? Well, I'm going to be sending something, like I might go to my website. Remember, Dawn might have given me access. It will say, hey, let me go to this website. If you put in your username and your password and you press enter, it's going to link you directly to our website. And from that, our website, you can go to this particular server. They must have created that configuration down. They must have made that accessibility down. All they just need to give me is just the access to the website where I can access this laptop, this server. So when I put in the username and the password and I press enter on their website or wherever interface that they provide for me to be able to access this server, immediately I press enter, something is going to happen. It's going to take that information and it's going to send it to this server. When my client send information to this server, that information is normally referred to as traffic. So if you hear about traffic, this is what it means. So the information that it sent is traffic, but that sending is what we refer to as request. It's going to make a request to that server, and is able to make that request to that server because both of them are connected to what we call the general internet. So because they are both connected to the internet, they can communicate with each other. So my client will send what we call a request to this server, and when the server receives the request, it's going to send something back. It's going to send another traffic back, and that traffic that is sending back is what we refer to as response. So when you are talking about clients to server relationship, don't always forget to mention request and response. Request and response. So this actually come out in interview too, because I've attended an interview before. Even this is actually with AWS, and the guy on the other side was asking me, and I believe AWS has this question a lot, how internet works. They may ask you how internet works, or what is the client to server relationship. Or they might be more specific or go like a little detail. They might ask you some other questions that what are the response or what are the HTTP, is it that response or HTTP? Is it HTTP code? Yeah, what are the response or HTTP code? So those HTTP codes that I'm talking about is, you don't really need to bother about this now, but I just want to give it for those people that already like above the normal average. Like when this client is talking to this server, and if everything is good and they are both able to communicate, they are going to send a code along with the response. This server is going to send response back like, hey, the client sent me request and I receive it, and this is your response. And it's also going to send a code so that the client can know that this is actually a response, and it's going to send a code of 1200, which means okay. If
Sorry,
this
I have a question. I don't know if this is allowed.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to understand, is it the information that is sent to the server that is called traffic or the process?
So the information that is actually sent to the server, that information is, when you send a server, when you send a traffic to the server, inside that traffic, there are a lot of things. There is what we call the payload, which is the data, the actual data that you are sending. There are also some header, like some authentication code. Like if you, 1 second, that if you want to send traffic to this data now, you're not just going to send, hey, give me access to your server. No, because this traffic that this person is sending, when you put in your username and your, okay, let's say for example now, you want to access your bank. You want to access your bank account from your phone. You're going to, when you open the bank page on your phone or the app, you're going to put your username and you're going to put your password. Then you're going to send. That sending is exactly what is here, because that username and password that you put and you send it, you are sending a request to their server. And that request comprises a lot of things. And among that is the credential that you type in, because the credential, you have to send the credential along. So the laptop, I mean the server, is going to take that credential, is going to make sure that you are actually the right person. And you are not only sending the credential alone, you also give it some information, what you want to access. Because by going to putting your username and your password and you click enter, it's going to send the credential and it's going to send you something else. But that something else that is sending you, it's already included in your data. It's normally the default page. Whoever that creates the application must have already put that in there as the default. Immediately you send your username and your password, it's going to send the data to the server and it's going to respond back with the first page of your banking app, of your banking profile, which might be your name, your username, your amount, your balance. It will give you that. Then before you start clicking different things, and anything that you are clicking, you are doing this exactly the same thing. You are sending, for example, if you go to a website and you click about us on the website, it's going to send signal to the database, to the server. Then the server will say, oh, you want to know about us? Then they are going to send you the file for about us. If you finish reading about them, then you click contact us, and it's going to go back, do exactly the same thing, send the request to the server. Hey, you want to have our contact? Then the server. So everything you are clicking, this cycle is going back and forth. So when you send a traffic, that traffic comprises a lot of things. It includes the credential, it includes the data, which some people normally refer to as payload, and it includes some configurations. But in general, we just refer to it as traffic. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, sure. Well understood. Thank you so much.
All right. So this process here, which we call as client to server communication or relationship, comes with request and response. So there is no way you're going to explain the client to server relationship or communication that you will not be talking about request and response. And when we get in deeper, there are some things that you still need to understand that we're going to be talking about there. So this is client to server relationship. So what is now cloud computing? When we talk about cloud computing, as I explained to you earlier, that cloud computing is just that you are using internet service over the internet, or you just refer to it as on-demand delivery of IT. Why is it called on-demand delivery of IT? I need something, I request for it, and it delivers it to me. So it's only going to be delivered to me when I need it, and that is why it is called on-demand. If I don't need it, you don't force me to take it. So it's an on-demand delivery of IT resources, services, or an application over the internet. So what are the services that can be requested as on-demand, or that can be categorized as on-demand, or that can be used as on-demand? You can use server as a service. You can use storage. When we talk about Google Drive, you can use email. Your email is a service that you use over the internet. You can actually create your own email server. If you don't want to use Google, you don't want to use Azure, you can actually create your own email server. But the process is tedious, is a lot. So you don't want to go through that. You just like, you know what? Let me just create an account with Amazon. Let me create an account with Google, or let me create an account with Yahoo. All of these, you are actually using their storage services. So when somebody sends you an email, it stores on Google storage services. And if you want to read the email, you log into Google storage services and you read it, and that message is still with Google. It's not on your laptop. If you remove your laptop, go to another laptop, type in your username and your password, you still have access to it. All you are doing is just you are accessing a service over the internet. So when we talk about accessing services over the internet, there are two people involved: the person that is requesting for the service, and the other part that is that is responding or providing the service. So we call these people the provider and the consumer. So when we talk about cloud, these are what we refer to as cloud provider. My provider is not right. And cloud consumer. So the people that are, or anybody that is providing that service, is the cloud provider, while those people that are using the service is the cloud consumer. So questions to the class now: when I talk about myself and Don, in the example I gave earlier, which of these two is me and which one is Don? Anyone?
You are the
Yes.
consumer.
Consumer.
Cloud,
Yes,
Don
Don is a
provider.
provider.
All right, so simple. Don is cloud provider. I'm the consumer. So that is the relationship between me and Don. Is my cloud provider and I'm his cloud consumer. So the cloud consumer is a company or a client that hosts resources in the cloud. I'm hosting my resources in the cloud. I store or back up my data in the cloud. I connect to cloud services, while the cloud provider will be the one to provide those services. It provides the compute power. It provides the storage services. It provides the networking, the database, the security, the cloud migration, that's access for me to migrate my data to its environment. He provides all this, but mine is just to use. So this here, you are seeing here, is an example of data center of cloud. They are very big and very organized. Some might not be organized. These are modern day ones. If you see some, you will be so scared. There's wires everywhere. Let's see if you can see one of them on the internet. I'm just going to see a rough data center or organized data center. Hopefully I can see one. Let's go to images. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. This is one. You see how rough this is. You don't want to work in this data center. But look at neat one, clear and neat. See how it's well organized. Yeah. Yeah, like this. This is well organized. Look how everything is neat. And compare it to the first one. I believe some of you will like to work in the first one because you like to deal with wires. But as for me, I prefer the neat one. I don't like stressful work. All right, that's just by the way. Anyway, so what are the advantages of cloud services over traditional data center or cloud computing over traditional data center? And here you can see it says create or provision cloud resources only when you need it. It is only when you need it you are going to provide or create it. If I need service now, I can just go to any one of the AWS, Azure, or Google and create a server with them instead of me raising money to go and buy my own physical server. Server can be very expensive. You will see server of 27,000, you see server of 15,000, you see server of 80,000. They can be very, very expensive. But guess what? Maybe if I just need a small service, a small web server, why should I go and pay 15,000 to buy a server where I can just use Amazon server and only pay them maybe $5 at the end of the month for a whole 1 month? So you only pay for the services, or you create services when you need it. You only pay for what you provisioned or use. When you don't use it, you don't pay for it. When you don't provision it, you don't pay for it. You can access services on demand. You access it anytime you need it. And guess what? You avoid that large upfront investment. I'm not going to pay a huge amount of money for data center or for physical server. No, I avoid all those ones. So cloud computing deployment models. There are multiple means of deploying resources. And these are the three. This actually also come out in the interview. very much. They might ask you what are the cloud deployment module that you know. There are three. We have the on-prem deployment. That means a company can decide they want to use cloud. Yes, they've agreed. They know that there are some sophisticated, some powerful things that they can use on the cloud. They want to use cloud. They don't want to deal with physical server anymore. So there are three ways that they can do this. They can either create their own cloud on-prem. They can actually create cloud on-prem, or they can talk to Google or talk to Azure or talk to GCP like, hey, we need cloud services, but we don't want to use the services that you make available for every other person. You need to come to our own office. We're going to provide you a place. So just come and set up our own cloud services on our on-prem. So you can deploy a cloud services on-prem, or you can use the cloud services. We call them like the public cloud services. You can deploy your service or your resources to another customer. That is the normal cloud service. Or you can use both, which is we call the hybrid. You use on-prem, you also use cloud. So there are three modules: the on-prem deployment, the cloud deployment, and the hybrid deployment. So when we talk about the on-prem based deployment, on-prem based deployment refers to the traditional model of installing and operating software and other IT resources within the physical premises of the organization, using the organization's own hardware and resources. Yeah, there are companies that they are using cloud. They are using AWS, or they are using GCP, or they are using Azure, but they are not using the general one that me and you and other companies use. They actually talk to all these cloud providers like, hey, we want you to come and set up all these cloud services, but we are going to set it up in our own premises. So that way, maybe they might do that because there's a lot of compliance that company must comply with. They may have some resources that those resources have to be on their premises, but they want to use cloud. They have seen the advantages of cloud, but they don't want to go to the other companies' domain or other companies' environment. They want it on their on-prem. So that is one. Then, and back for 1 second. And this is also referred to as private cloud. So when somebody asks you private cloud, that is exactly what they mean. That is cloud. You deploy your resources with another person's server, but it's actually deployed, or a company can actually set up their own private cloud, like Amazon now. Amazon as a company, when they want to use cloud, they will not go and use or pay money to Google or Azure. So they can actually set up their own cloud. Talk about your question.
Thank you. So recently I secured employment with one of the three major airlines in the US.
Okay.
So, but I mean, thank you, sir. So, but it's a lower, very low paying job. Like their customer service, the lowest stuff. So I'm planning to migrate, because you're allowed to migrate after some time, after staying like for 1 year in the company. But I realized that whenever I work at the contact center, I realized that a part of the contact center has this, like maybe, I don't know, maybe it's up to one plot or something. They call it, is it data center, or I don't know. So when I asked, and I noticed that the building is always very cold. So they said they have to, that it's so cold like that because of the data center outside. So this is where my confusion is. I know that when I go to the internet job search, I noticed that one of the requirements for AWS or something for cloud engineer is AWS. So I'm always like, okay. So because I've attended this course before. I mean, this AWS course before, but I didn't complete it. But in my mind, when I noticed the data center, I was like, oh, this is probably they operate traditional data center. So this course, the different deployments now is was what brought the. So like it just reminded me of this. I want to know if that kind of setting, the deployment, will you call that, because I know they use AWS from their job requirements and all for their, as part of the requirement for cloud engineer or architect. So is this going to be like combined? Is it a mixture of the on-premise, the cloud and on-premise? I don't know. I'm not really sure. I don't know if you
Yeah,
get my.
okay. I understand your question very well. So most companies, they use both. They use cloud, public cloud majorly, and some use Google, government Gov, like AWS call it Gov Cloud. Okay, so especially for US government, AWS, I'm not sure about Azure and GCP, but AWS have a separate environment for US government, and they call it Gov Cloud. But there are some government agents that they still use the public AWS that me and you use. But that is not your question. Your question now is that you are confused whether your company uses AWS fully or they use both. Yeah, they use both.
Yes.
If a company have their own data center and they still use AWS, that means they are hybrid. But what you now need to find out is that on-prem data center, is it a private cloud or a traditional data center? Because there are some AWS service, like me now, if I have money, or you, if you have money, you can actually tell AWS like, hey, I need this service, but I don't want to use the general or the public one. I want you to provide me a private one that it is only me that's going to be using it and it's going to be in my premises. So when we go deeply into AWS, we are going to discuss some of those services that you can actually request for AWS to set up in your own premises. So if your company actually talk to AWS and AWS deploy some resources on their on-prem, you can refer to that as private cloud. And your companies too can actually create their own cloud. It's going to be cloud. Everything is going to be virtualized, not physical computer. It's going to be virtualized like normal cloud, but it is their own private one. It's not AWS that created it for them. It's not GCP. They actually created themselves. You can create your own private cloud that everything is going.
Voice privacy contents have been updated.
Sorry.
To continue.
So you can create your own private cloud that is not going to be all this physical computer. Everything is going to be virtualized. You're going to be accessing them over the internet. You don't have to go to like a data center every time. You're going to be accessing that over the internet. So you can create your private one. So there is possibility that your company, they might create their own private center because they are rich. They can create their own private one. There's possibility that they might be using the traditional one that they have all these giant physical server there, or there's possibility that they might actually reach out to all these cloud service provider to create private cloud for them. Whichever one that they do out of the three is still referred to as private cloud. But if they are not, or if the cloud is not on-prem, if it's not in their own premises, that they actually have to connect to AWS web services, that is the public cloud. So if your company is using both, that is what we refer to as hybrid.
Okay. So one more question, please. So
right.
For cloud engineer, so when you were taking us infrastructures delivered over the cloud, like security, storage, and all. So if we get employed, are we going to be in charge of all these 6 areas, security, storage, database, and all? Or we are just going to be specialized in one aspect of the, I don't know if you understand my
Okay,
question.
yeah, I understand you. So if you work with a company like AWS like specialty, that if you work in AWS, they might say you are only going to be working in database. You might say you are going to be working in server. You might say you are going to be working in IAM, and that's the only thing you are going to be working about. Even if they give you to be, if they assign you to be working with database, they might even limit it to like you are only going to be working with relational database or RDS, or they might say you're only going to be working with IAM role alone, and you're not going to be working with the entire IAM. That is for a company like AWS. But if you are working for a company like Dawn and Son, you're going to be doing everything. You know what I mean with that? Dawn and Son, all those small companies, all those
private,
small
okay,
companies.
small.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to be working, you're going to be doing everything. And some large companies too, they will let you do everything. But this is it. If you want to be employed fast, you need to learn all. But when I say learn all, you learn the basic of all of them. Then you now look at, okay, which area am I interested in? Then when you realize that, okay, this is the area that I'm so much confident I'm interested in, then you now go fully in that area. When we talk about storage, server, database, and other services, everybody can actually work here. Engineer can work on all of them. Engineer will configure all of them. Solution architect, we architect all of them. You can architect database, you can architect server, you can architect storage. Solution architect, we work on all of them. Security engineer, we work on all of them. We have to find a way to secure this, have a way to secure this, have a way to secure this. IAM engineer, we work on all of them. IAM engineer, we find a way to give access to this, to give access to this, to give access to this. So what am I saying in essence is that you're going to be working on all of them, but it might be on a different pace. You might be working on all of them as a security engineer on how to secure storage, how to secure server, how to secure database, or you might be working as a solution architect. How do I architect or provide a storage solution? How do I provide a database solution? How do I provide a server solution? Or you might be an engineer. How do I configure all of this? You might be a DevOps. How do I orchestrate all of these resources to work together continuously as a continuous integration, continuous development, and continuous deployment? So my advice for everybody under the sound of my voice, learn all of them. You can learn them on the basic, then you can now go deep. If I'm a security person, I love security so much, but I still know all of them. But when I'm doing interview, this is it. When I'm doing interview, I'm talking to my interviewer on a security level. How do you secure database? How do you secure storage? How do you secure server? How do you secure the entire IAM? If somebody that is an engineer is doing interview, he's going to be talking on all of them, but he's going to be talking how do you configure them. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, but always learn all of them. It's always good.
Sorry, I have a quick question.
right.
I noticed you keep mentioning database, storage. Please, what's the difference between the two?
Database and storage. Were you in the
Yes.
class yesterday?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, because I explained that yesterday.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, when you have storage
Hmm.
and database, I don't spell it very well. So the main thing between this storage and database is that, let's say you have a web application. Let me use this to explain it. Let's say you have a website. And this website, you sell items. Maybe you sell clothes. Maybe you sell clothes. If people start going to your website, they want to view the clothes, the pictures of the clothes that are on your website. Those pictures are possibly stored on the storage. If you have your website, as I told you guys earlier, that your website is just folders and files. Those folders and files, they are stored in the storage. And that storage is connected to this server where the website is running on. When somebody goes to your website and they want to buy the clothes, and they click a clothes, the clothes show them a picture. That picture is actually coming from here. If you show them a video, the video is actually coming from storage. But when that customer now wants to buy that product, he now open a form. He clicked it, he go to checkout, then the checkout brought out a big form to fill. And the customer start putting their username, their first name and their last name. They put their addresses, they put their phone number and all other information, and they put their card. All this customers' information goes into database. It goes into database, and you can query that customer information from the database. But when a person is clicking videos, if you go to on Facebook and you are watching videos, watching movie, they are all coming from storage. I hope that answers your question, because I think it's not only you. A lot of people always confuse what is storage. We store information, but what you store in each one of them is always different.
Okay, so in this sense, now one can say that storage are information stored by, should I say, the provider, while database are information from the users or clients. Is that
Yeah, that
right?
will work, but yeah, that actually works. Information stored by the provider, that actually works. But if I'm going to say, I'm just going to say storage is where you store files.
Okay.
And picture, image, video, while database where you store customers' data.
Information. Okay, makes sense. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, where are we? Okay, so next, when we talk about cloud service, what's the time? We have 1 minute more, but let me see what we can do within that 1 minute. So when we have cloud deployment, cloud-based deployment, that is when you actually take your resources out from your on-prem or traditional database and actually deploy it in another person's data center, and you are accessing that over the internet. And if you look here, you say cloud deployment refers to the process of enabling various types of IT resources such as application, data storage, virtual machine, and services to be accessed and operate over the internet. That's just a grammar, but in a nutshell, it's just like it's providing services or deploying services or creating services over the internet. And this is what is normally referred to as public cloud. And ways to deploy resources to public cloud: you create the resources in the cloud, or you can migrate resources from your on-prem to the cloud. If you have some resources before, maybe you are running on-prem data center before, then one way to migrate to the cloud is to migrate those resources to the cloud. Or if you are just a new person, just starting a business, you might not use on-prem at all. You just go to the resource, or you go to the cloud and create those resources directly on the cloud. So those are the two ways of moving your resources to the cloud. And ways to manage the applications that are in the cloud. There are two ways to manage applications in the cloud. You can manage your application yourself, which is what we refer to as customer managed application. And another one is that a cloud provider, the person that is providing the cloud, can actually create a service and be the one to manage it, and you just use it. You don't bother with the management. And one thing that we normally call, when you talk about management, one of them is like when we talk about the patching. Patching, or when we talk about the patching is also the same thing as upgrading, but for those people that don't know what patching is, when you want to upgrade a server or you want to upgrade a service, then you can either patch it yourself or you can use the one that AWS are providing. So those are the two means of managing resources. And don't worry about it, we still don't understand. These are just the preliminary. We're still going deep into the course. And these are all the theoretical part. This theoretical part, we'll have to discuss it before you can get into the hands-on. And the final one is the hybrid-based deployment, which is hybrid. You use half and half. You have some resources on-prem and you have some resources in the cloud. Please, if you are rewatching this video, put all of these things down in your own language. When I say in your own language, in your own terms, how you can easily say it, because you will be surprised where somebody is going to ask you this in an interview. If I'm doing an interview for people, or if I'm interviewing somebody, I'm not asking all of these questions. But I can categorically tell you that somebody has asked me this question before in an interview. But me, if I'm interviewing people, these are not the questions I'm asking. I'm asking you the real life scenario question. So, hybrid-based deployment. This is deployment deployment whereby you integrate both on-prem data center with the cloud services, allowing data application to move between private and public cloud as needed. And that is it. Whenever we are using cloud deployment, whenever we are using hybrid, you deploy, you have some resources in the cloud and you have some resources on-prem. But the point is that you must connect both of them because they must communicate together. And one way that this might happen is that you might have your server in the public cloud. And your database too might be in the public cloud. Your web server and your database, both of them might be in the public cloud. But before anybody can access this, because you make them protected, before anybody can access this, they must pass through on-prem. And what you put on-prem, it might be a firewall, or what we call perimeter firewall. Like a security. So that anybody that wants to access these services, maybe let me say this is Jimmy. Jimmy wants to access this service, he has to go through here before he can access this service. And the reason why he's going through here is that so that this firewall can filter Jimmy requests and make sure that Jimmy is not trying to hack our system. So if we are certified, because this firewall verify Jimmy and say, oh, Jimmy is genuine, is not sending any bad request, then guess what? we are going to respond back to Jimmy with what he wants. But if somebody from, let's say, which country can I use? Let me say it's popular from Afghanistan. I mean, from Russia. Somebody from Russia is trying to access our resources. But guess what? We have received, maybe somebody has hacked our server before from Russia. Then because of this, we block every IP from Russia. Guess what? If this person is coming from Russia, immediately it passed through this firewall, the firewall will send it back. It will not let it go through. So that's one way that we might protect our service like that. And that's one reason we might have to use on-prem cloud. So finally, for this, before we close for today, sorry, I'm running out of time. So one way to deploy resources to the hybrid environment is to connect both the on-prem together with the cloud. We are not going to do that in this class. I'm sorry to tell you that because that is advanced. We are not going to do that in this class, but we are going to do that in solution architect. This is not solution architect. We are going to do a solution architect. How do you connect both together? And if you want, I will, before the end of the class, maybe after we finish now, I will show you where you can see a project that you can do to connect both on-prem and cloud together, and can you put that on your resume. But remind me when I finish the class now. So way to manage applications in the cloud, in the hybrid, you can as well use the same technology. You manage those ones that are on your on-prem, and you manage those ones that are in the cloud together with the cloud provider. Those are the two ways to manage that. Cloud provider and client, both of them manage applications and resources in the cloud. While you, the customer, you manage the application and service that is deployed on your on-premises. So those are the major topic for today. And finally, I think that, let me just see, I think this is the final one. 1 second. So as I already explained this before, we have three main cloud providers. We have Amazon Web Service, Azure, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud, which is normally referred to as GCP, Google Cloud Platform, GCP. So those are the three main services that we have. So this is going to be the end for today's class. When we meet on Wednesday, we are going to start on topic 2, which is AWS Cloud Value Proposition. In another language, it just means AWS Advantage. I mean, AWS Cloud Advantage or Cloud Benefits, that way. All right. Any question before we call it a day?
Yes, please. How can I get access to yesterday's class?
Yesterday class?
Yes, and today's one as well.
Okay. So today's one, if you go to our, let me just go to our YouTube straight, both of them is going to be on our YouTube. So when you go to your YouTube, just search for TheCornelis Inc. Then when you click to TheCornelis Inc., you can go to our playlist. You will see it under our playlist.
Okay.
And this is it here.
Oh,
so this is it for yesterday, and the one we finished today will go under it too. And also, it's going to be on our website. So if you go to TheCornelisInc.com and you search for the course, you're going to see it there on TheCornelisInc.com. So you can access it on our website too. So this is the course here, September 2024. Just click on it, enroll on it, and be able to watch it. But make sure you go and watch it on our YouTube. I think what I'm even going to do, I'm going to put some money on it, maybe like $1, so that to just deter people from watching it here, because I don't want to be paying for it. If you watch it here, I'm paying for it, and I'm going to put $1 there so that people are going to watch on YouTube. All right. Any other
One
question?
last thing, please.
All right,
The
go ahead.
material, the PDF or PowerPoint, can we have?
Yeah, so for the material, for the PowerPoint, you can actually come here. When you click on this link, when you let me use, so I did not put yesterday on, but I think I'll start putting it from today. So when you click on the topic, just scroll down, you will see it. Let me, because I didn't put yesterday on, so it might not be there. Okay, I don't know if I want to put this part on the record, but let me just leave it on the record in case anybody is watching later. So if you go to this course, but because I didn't put it here, I'm going to use another one. So let's say it is this. When you open it and you go to learning, under the topic, under any topic, if you scroll down, you will see this exercise file. Click on it, you will see the material. Click on it, you will see the material, then you can download it.
Okay.
All right. All right, sir. Any other question? Going to the normal question.
Sorry, do you have to pay for that also when we download the files?
No. It's free.
Okay. Then
yeah,
another
this course is totally free. I told you guys yesterday, the reason why I don't want you to watch it on my website is because I get paid when you watch. I mean, I get charged when you watch it here. And the class is free, and I don't want to pay for that. No, the download is free. It's free.
Okay,
it's
you
free.
don't get charged. You don't get charged.
I don't get charged for that. No, that one is free.
Okay. Then I just want to know, I don't know if you talked about this yesterday because I wasn't here. Your previous classes is usually 5 months, and I think two to 3 time classes also. So, and this time around is 1 month. Although that one is paid for and this one is free, which is very well appreciated. So what's the difference, or what's going to be the content difference between that 5-month period and this 1 month period of class?
There's no difference there. If you go to the 1 month period, okay, hold on, let me show you something here. If you go to the 5 months paid for class, we normally do like 3 different classes in that one too. So the first one, like normally all my classes, the first 3 weeks is always free, either paid for or not. So let me hold on. I'm going to show you what I mean. So this part of the class is the first part of the paid class, but it's always free. So the paid class is going to start the paid class after this one. So the paid class is just going to cover the remaining 2. So if you look at this is last batch, and the paid class we start from here. This is cloud practitioner. Then after that, we do the solution architect. Then we finalize on the cloud security, on cybersecurity. But this is the first part of the class, and that part is what we are doing now, and that is free. So whatever people are paying for, they are paying for these 2. But the first one is still free, and it's always going to be free. Though last batch, I think last batch we used 2 weeks or like 3 weeks for this, but now I'm using 1 month. So that's the only difference. And the 1 month is to make sure that people actually get something and they can actually use it to apply for job without applying for the paid class.
So the paid section will not be covering it in this training. Okay.
No, this is still good. This is part of the paid class, but this part of the paid class is what I'm now giving free. But this other 2 is not free. And I don't really know when we are going to do the paid class. It might be maybe a month after this one, or it might be next year. That's why I want people to pay more attention on this, because I'm bringing more value to this as well. All right.
Thank you.
Any other question? Okay, if there is no more question, I want to appreciate you guys for allowing me to teach you, and I hope I will see you on Wednesday. Please, the class is free, 100% free, and I can assure you that at the end of the class, you're going to get a lot of value that you can actually apply for a job and get it from this class. But it comes with a price. Attendance is key. Attendance is compulsory. Like yesterday, I think we are like 20 something yesterday, and today I like 23, 24, and today we are 19, 20. Some people are coming, some are leaving. I look for attendance, and once you miss the class more than 3 times, I may be dropping you out from the class. That means it's free, but because you know, when something is free, people don't take it serious, and I don't want to waste my time. Olabode, your question.
My quick question is, thank you. First, thank you for the class. And secondly, after the successful completion of this program, what kind of road can we apply to as in the cloud area?
Yeah, so there are some roles that as a cloud practitioner you can apply for, and even generally everybody should have cloud practitioner knowledge. And the role, it depends on the role. If you are like, if you see a role that requests for like business analyst, cloud, AWS business analyst is a good role. If you see IAM or business analyst IAM, all those roles that are not really too deep into AWS, maybe they just want you to have basic knowledge of AWS or 2 years experience of AWS. But any role that is requesting for 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, 7 years of AWS experience, I will not say you should apply for it as a cloud security, as a cloud practitioner, because cloud practitioner is still basic. It's basic. When we talk about those people that have 5 years or solution architect, that is when you are going to be managing like 6, 7 accounts together. But cloud practitioner, if you even read AWS guide, they just expect a cloud practitioner knowledge, but somebody to have you, it's just for you to know the concepts, know all the services of AWS. They are not expecting you to like create anything or deploy anything on AWS, just knowledge of AWS. Like if somebody asks you, what do you understand by cloud? You should be able to tell them. What do you understand by EC2? You should be able to tell them. What do you understand by S3 buckets? You should be able to tell them. But that is different from somebody that like creating buckets, connecting multiple buckets together, creating access to limit people ability or what they can do on a bucket. That is different. But what I'm bringing to the table that is more different than what AWS is that I'm going to actually show you hands-on. Even if you don't attend the solution architect, you will still be fine, because I will show you where you can get projects that you can use to develop yourself. But if you want me to actually do those projects with you, then you have to come to the solution architect paid class. That is where we do those ones. But this, because it's a 1 month, I will still give you those knowledge, but I won't be like spending entire 5 months on this. That's it. But it's still valid. So any project that does not need more than 2 years of experience of AWS, then is a good one. Or that just wants you to have mere knowledge of AWS. I applied for, I did an interview one day, or like a month or 2 months ago. And the only thing that we discussed for like 15 to 20 minutes of interview is the person just asking me, I've seen your resume, but why do you apply for this job? You are overqualified. I have to like find my way. I'm actually just attending the interview, not that I need the job, but I'm piling up interview questions. Just move my way around just to make sure that I actually get above that first stage to meet the hiring manager and the team and get more questions from them. But it's just like focusing on why are you here? We only need 2 years of experience, but you have almost 6 years of experience. So you can get good job with anyone that does not have requiring those long years of experience. Somebody, thanks very much. We appreciate your time and efforts. Oh, thank you, Kehinde. Any other question? If there's no question, I want to say thank you guys, and we end the class here.